photo, but there's also in the project also videos and installation. And this work was made for a commission of the Museum of Contemporary Arts of Bolzano. They were building a new, it's a public, it will start with public health project. It was building the new museum, and they asked a big work, a big image, large size, to cover all around this building. So we imagine, we did 10 picture, and we did this huge print, yes, and that it was connected with the environment also, because it was a street with trees. On the back side it was this river, and we thought it was fit this kind of work. We did this, we shoot this picture in Rome, in the center of Rome, on the Tiber River, and we spent some years walking around the city. Imagine us like a flaneur, and using this kind of impressionist way to go, but not in the center, but trying to find hidden place, like also damp, because we are really our interest is also about what is the natural and artificial, and the refusal,
the removal
of
our society.
Yes. And
see. The fact is, when we started thinking of these works, we were questioning ourselves about this idea of nature, and the fact that women always were related to nature. But in history, this fact was really a way of like linking women to feelings, irrational part of our way of living. So the fact that we were questioning is nature, being like related to nature, is a good thing for women. So we started thinking that the idea of nature was in a way very artificial. And at the same time we were working on women in the arts. So we started also thinking of what is the image or the work in art that is more recognizable. And so we started working on Impressionism, that is really related to this idea of landscape and nature. So that's how we arrived to work on this piece that is a way of questioning the landscape and nature. So, and also women in the art history. So we decided to work on a very common tool that is plastic bags that we use every day to make flowers. And because we wanted to react in a way. So it was kind of a performance piece, because we wanted to react art history through our eyes. So we worked on the Tiber River that has all this particular light that recalls also Impressionism and all the reflections that are part of the piece. And at the same time we built all these plastic bags and put them in the river as a very aesthetic, in a very aesthetical way. And I hope that when the public see for the first time the work, has this feeling of like, at the beginning doesn't understand that it is a plastic bag, a common tool, and that's the idea of creating like something that you don't really recognize. You recognize, but at the same time you don't. So that's how we made this work, and how was born in a way this series of pictures is part of this series that Eleonora was telling you, Bucolics, that refers to this idea of nature and women, and we cut the word in two, so bucolics, referring to this idea that nature in a way doesn't, for us, we don't feel very comfortable in this idea and relation in culture and in our history. I think
just a quick question. When you put the flowers in, did you anchor them?
They're all linked by nylon string. So we move and to do position the flower, and at the end we also take all of this pollution.
You can see here.
You can see some strings.
Some strings of nylon that we used to because it was very difficult to position the flowers in the pictures. So we had this long piece of wood,
a long glow, plastic glow,
and we have these plastic nylons, and we were trying to make the composition of pictures. And we had also a professional photographer who helped us to work on this series. And how Eleonora told you, we made this huge nymphaeas garden of 34 meters around this museum. So it was inspired by the garden of Monet in Orangerie in Paris.
Yeah, also the size of the picture is in scale with the dimension of the real painting. And we use different technique with photography to give also the idea of painting. Like from far away you have sometimes you don't recognize if it's a picture or it's a painting. That is a part of the process of this kind of artificial and natural concept also. It's also this idea, just the last, this idea of being flaneur. It was also for us interesting because it's the Impressionist women, most of the Impressionist women painter, were inside the portrait or inside the house of the garden. It was the male painter that was, he has this kind of practice. So we took this practice, and we're still going on with this and trying to find a new landscape.
Because that's really what the Impressionists were known for, right? Going outside and painting, not so much the women. Right. Like Mary Cassatt or Marcel. Inside.
Did you experiment photographing at different times of the day to get the lighting the way that you wanted, the reflections and just the effects?
Yes. We've been passing all the for months in different time of the day, trying to find the good place and the good time for the shooting, for the light. Because for us it was really important to have also this feeling of the light. Then sometimes it's also mixed with the. We saw this piece in a different location, and so in daylight and also with the different in mix, you don't recognize sometimes which is the real light and which is the light of the picture. So it was really. We were really focused on that to find the time for the shooting.
Did you try to make a statement about environment or pollution in this as well?
Yes, of course. We were like kind of obsessed.
Yes.
This idea of like the accumulation of trash that we are generating. Yes. So we started working also on this topic, on this issue. And in fact, at the end of this series, we produced also a video that is called Dump Queen, that was shot in a dump in Rome, and where there is this dancer dressed as a Carmen Miranda, and who's dancing in this location, and you really have this feeling of she's very abundant and rich and very like exotic in a way, and on her back there is this desolating panorama. So
yeah,
we worked
bird that's flying and eating from there. So it's really, I have maybe some sentences that maybe are easier for us, so that I can read. Like it's really short. But like we're interested in refuse as the consequence of certain lifestyle, in particular an environment as a material that has consequence for the future. And we're interested in the notion that refuse is something removed from its original context, object of consumption that once had a very strong aura of interest, completely lose their captivating aspect and become unwanted trash that we don't want to regard as a part of our life. This is interesting to us as a metaphor.
Thank you.
So we've officially reached